Here's an easy garden gourmet designer tip. I love to use water bowls in our garden because water is the #1 way to attract wildlife, and most importantly for us, it's a source of fresh water for our honeybees. They make great focal points in your landscape, such as this giant Chinese water bowl in our garden. And they're easy to create. Pick a color and size of bowl that works for your space. Choose plants for their texture and color. Purples, reds, and greens match perfectly with our black bowl and create a stunning contrast to the garden. Layer a variety of plants in your bowl. Start with plants that grow under the surface, such as this water lily. Floaters, such as these water hyacinths, shade and reduce algae in the water. The final layer is your emergent plants that sit above water level, and here the choices are endless. The variegated society garlic and red and green rheums are beautiful as well as edible. And for a final touch, add a pump and fountain for a running water feature. You'll feel like you're at the spa. I'm here up on the roof with our bees, and we keep bees here for 2 reasons. The first one being is that they're super pollinators, and we use them to pollinate all our vegetables and fruit. In fact, we get about 30 to 40% more veggies by having our bees here in our garden. And the second reason is we get a lot of honey. And in fact, by the end of the summer, we will have produced about 100 pounds of honey per hive. I have a protective suit on, as well as my handy dandy gloves, a hive tool, and the all-important smoker. And this is really important because when I go into the hive, it will help to calm the bees when I smoke it. And before I begin, I'm going to put my mask on. Zip up nice and tight, so we don't want any of them getting in here.
I'm worried about Senga when working with the bees. She had to go to the doctor for 2 years to get allergy shots. I still carry on an EpiPen just in case she does get stung. We don't know what's going to happen. We have to take her to the hospital.
So the first thing I have to do is remove the top cover, which protects the hive against bad weather. This is the inner cover. You can see where the bees are coming out. This provides ventilation for the cover, for the hive itself. I grab my smoker, give the bees a little puff of smoke, and that will get them running into the hive. And the reason why they do this and calm down is because in nature the smoke actually makes them think there's a forest fire happening, and what they'll do is they'll go into the hive and start eating all their stores of honey. And that in essence makes them quite sleepy and dopey because all of a sudden they're full of honey. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hive tool, pry the frame out from the side, because these frames are quite sticky from the honey and all the activity of the bees. And I'm going to pull out a frame so we can check out what the bees are doing. And basically we have 3 main residents in this hive. We've got the queen bee, the drone, and the worker. Okay, so we're going to check and see who's on this frame. And the first one, and the most important of the hive, is the queen, and there she is. And she is the most important because she basically produces all the bees of this hive. There's only one of her, and basically she will lay about 300 eggs a day, which is really important. This hive needs to grow from about 10,000 to 60,000 before the honey harvest. And she will live about 5 to 7 years. And basically there she is, laying yet another egg, and she really just goes from cell to cell, laying her eggs as the worker bees around keep feeding and looking after her. Over here you can see there's a drone bee. Now there's usually only about a few hundred drone bees in a hive at any given time. They got the good life because basically they do nothing in the hive, they don't work. They just are there to mate with the queen so that she can produce some more eggs. Now the balance of the bees that you see throughout this whole frame are what they call the workers. And the workers are just females that are unable to lay eggs like the queen. They do everything in the hive. They clean, they create the wax, they clean out the honeycomb, they feed and raise the babies, and they also collect the honey and the nectar for the hive to feed their babies as well as to store for the winter to ensure that the hive will survive. And I'm going to put the frame back in slowly and gently. Every time you work the beehives, you always want to be slow and gentle. Keeping yourself calm is a way to keep the bees calm. And once we're done checking out our beehive, we take the inner cover and put it back gently on the hive, like so. And then the last thing we do is put the top cover back on in order to protect the hive from the weather. And our bees came from New Zealand. We did what we call hiving them in the spring. Basically a package, about 3.3 pounds of these guys, or 10,000 of them, arrived in what they call a nuke. And the nuke also contains the queen. And that's basically the story of our bees on our roof. When we come back, David is finally where he belongs, in the outdoor kitchen. He's going to reveal his summer salad recipes with our strawberries, honey, and other garden delectables.